Hey
Hey,
Paul,
Matt.
how's it
I
going?
can see. Yeah, I'm good today. I can see you're nice and outside, nice and sunny and bright out there.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like a
kind of on
really
the other
nice
side of
day.
Melbourne. Yeah, I'm on the other side, and it was much nicer outside, but it's a little darker. And my neighbours are trying to do their best. I did it earlier to cut my grass and do some work in the yard. So there's a
Yep.
lot of noise in my yard, so I had to do it inside. Which I guess at the moment you'll have to excuse how red I come across. You know, I think it's just some bad lighting at the moment. But I got a background, and I'm trying out my green screen today, but I've got a virtual background. And one day I might show that my lathe in devs in the shed and show what I've been doing with that, because I do have a couple of little electric motors connected up. You can sort of see it in the bottom left corner above the P. There's a little electric motor there that turns that lead screw. But anyway, that was just something I was sort of interested in my shed, and thought it was an
So a
appropriate
fake a
virtual
fake
background
a
for
fake
today.
background of like another area of your your house, right?
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
fake background of my shed at the moment, just to avoid the noise and interruption to the stream today.
Yep. No, that's
So,
all cool.
so
Apologies, I wanted to do it outside as well. So there was some whippersnippers before, but it looks like it's calmed down. I'll go on mute if too much noise happens.
yeah,
What do we want to show off today? This is a bit of an impromptu one. We've got an extension on Chalice, right? On what we've been building the
yeah,
last couple of weeks. Yeah.
yeah. So the last two live streams that Matt and I have done on the AWS Twitch versus our own personal Twitch have all been around have had some interaction, some involvement with Chalice. And one of the pieces that we did was, we sort of hacked around with Chalice to make it serve my full application directly from Lambda and API Gateway, and that's quite handy, and that's quite nice, and that worked. And in the chat, I'll go ahead and I'll paste in that link, so that anybody who wants to have a look at that, they can go ahead and play the game. So this works fine in. I'll just paste in the comments.
I've just brought it up for everyone now. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So this works fine because I'm running in Linux again. Like, this rock font doesn't work so well. We can see, this is our application, rock paper scissors, running within Lambda behind API Gateway. That should all work just fine. But what I thought would be interesting, because a couple of people asked about, is what about if I wanted to convert that into my own custom domain? How would I go about doing that? And I think custom domains on API Gateway is something that isn't brought up that often. So there isn't a whole bunch of information around how to go ahead and set that up. And there's a number of different ways that you can do that. You can use CloudFront to do it. You can point NRBs to API gateways and so forth. But what we'll do today is we'll use a custom domain name on API Gateway to go ahead and do that. But one thing I did want to show was what happens when we have our Chalice application in API Gateway. What changes when we want to be able to serve up binary content? So I thought that was something interesting to show, and what I will show is the differences. So we did talk about that. Sorry, it's here in the settings. So we've got the binary media types, which is saying that what media types should be treated as binary. An API Gateway will look at the content type and accept headers to decide how to handle it. But what we're doing is setting everything to binary. So if I go into the terminal here, and this is my Chalice app, and we'll do Chalice deploy. I haven't set up a virtual environment for this. What's happening here? Why hasn't that activated? No. I don't know what's happened here. Oh, I know. It's because I set up.
You haven't done a pip install for yeah.
It's because I set up the virtual environment pointing to an older version of. I changed the version of Python on this machine.
Oh, okay.
This will hopefully fix it. It's because the virtual environment isn't set up correctly. So it's always that challenge to set up a virtual environment, especially when you're doing it on the fly. Let's see. Okay, So this is what we want. This is happening because I was changed my version of Python locally on this machine to version 3.8 across globally, and that was a mistake on this machine because it broke Yum. So I changed that all back, which then, of course, then broke all my Python setup for everything else that I had. So I'm expecting now Chalice will work.
Did you roll back to 8, or did you upgrade to 8 out of interest?
So Python globally here is set to 3.85, but so that's within the VM. But if I was to like open a terminal, I rolled it back to, I think it was 3.7 is what caused some of the problems.
Okay, yep.
2.7 was used for Yum, but I changed it globally. I just shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. So within the VM,
Yep.
I'm using Python 3.8, which is what I want. But globally, I don't want that because that was using, it broke my Yum when I was trying to update some packages there. So if I go ahead and reinstall those dependencies, that should kick back off again. But what I wanted to show is the difference, what gets deployed to API Gateway around those binary media types when I change that. And I'll show where that change to that happens. So that happens in the app file, and that's around this app.api.binary types. And I'll change that, and then I'll change it back again, and we'll deploy it and see what the difference is between.
And we need to ask Aaron actually to do like the push for the Lizard's Block. I can see we've got the placeholders there, but I remember we did a stream where we kind of added all in. It'd be good to get that on the main branch, I reckon.
Yep.
Aaron's in the background, so I just called it out.
He's watching.
Hey, Aaron.
Okay,
Yeah.
hey, Aaron. So I know that it's deployed. That's fine. There's no real changes that we're updating there, but I'll go ahead and I'll deploy that app again with that change put in place. So I'll remove the binary types and I'll have a look at the difference. So I'll assume this should still be working the same. So that it's all still working the same because we're having that. But now that we're running that deployment, I should see this not work the way I expect it to work anymore. So this should fail.
Yep.
It didn't fail, but there we go. The image is now failing. So it's not pushing out the images. And if we go ahead and change this, reload this page, we'll see that now it's looking for accept headers for those types. And because we're not passing an accept header for the image, it won't work. But if I was to do a curl and pass that accept header on, that would come back. So that was one of the changes that we had to make. So I'll just go ahead and flip that back so that it works again. So what we'll do this all through the console. We'll do it manually for this breakdown here. And the first thing I want to do is what do you think we should set it up as, Matt? We'll call it like
URL wise.
Yeah.
Well, we've already taken RPS, right? .devsintheshed.com.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Maybe we take. Maybe it's RPS SLS, right? Serverless.
Okay.
Something easy to remember, but short.
Yep. So we'll go to API Gateway. And then we'll work our way through this. So I haven't done this for a little while, but we go custom domain names, and we don't have any in here. So we'll go ahead and we'll create one. We'll call it RPS SLS.devsintheshed.com. We'll do TLS 1.2. We'll do that as a regional, so we won't worry about using that with CloudFront. We don't have a certificate there, but we will want to create a new certificate for that. So I'll go ahead and I'll create a certificate. Now, I haven't entered anything into Route 53 yet. All we're going to go ahead and do is create that certificate there. So I'll provision that certificate, and I want a public certificate that AWS will generate for me. To make sure I don't make any typos, I'll take that and paste it in. So this will generate an Amazon signed SSL certificate and store that within ACM. And I don't need another name. I'll go next. I'll choose DNS validation. Because the name server is delegated through Route 53, we'll be able to go ahead and create those DNS entries within Route 53. But because Amazon detects that account, that domain name is within this account, I can go ahead, just click create the records, or if you want to export them, you can export them out and then import it into wherever your DNS is supported. But I'll go ahead and just click create for that. And so we'll see, this won't take very long, but we'll see in a couple of minutes that certificate will be ready and available for us within ACM. And so then we'll be able to go back to API Gateway, find that certificate in there. Actually, we might have to refresh this page, so good thing I copied that there. While that's happening, I'll touch base on mutual TLS authentication. So MTLS is a new feature that's come for API Gateway that enables you to put a certificate on the API Gateway that enables secure connection to like your secondary source. And this is another mechanism that is commonly used, especially within like larger organizations or enterprises. So it's still very commonly accepted authentication pattern. I've had to deal with it like many times in the past. But if you go ahead and turn that on, you can provide the locations to the trust stores, and as long as it has all the permissions set up, that will mean that instead of passing like a username and password or some sort of token across, you can authenticate using a TLS certificate. As long as both ends have and trust that certificate, they can communicate with each other.
So that's really good, because I mean, if you think about it, like your browser basically has to trust every site that it goes to that's using HTTPS. So you've got trust from the server, but what happens if you wanted situations where it's like, I know that client, I want, but I know that server, and I want both of them to make sure that they are who they say they are. So that's kind of where mutual TLS comes in handy, especially like in microservices architectures. I've seen it used quite commonly as a pattern there.
Yep. So I can see now that certificate has been generated. So I can see that there was issued. So it's handy how fast that typically happens. Anyway, I'll turn MTLS off. I don't know if this will load it. Oh yeah, it did. So we've got the certificate there. We can go ahead and create that domain name.
Yep.
So that's really handy. So the next thing that we need to do is, this is the API Gateway domain name. We will need to point Route 53 to this. So if we take that, we go into Route 53 to the hosted zone, and devs in the shed. We'll create a new record, and that record was, what was that? RPS SLS. Devs in the shed, the record type CNAME. And we can make, I think if we do a value, an alias, we can find that in here. But sometimes it's like it doesn't pop up all the options all the time. So I'll paste that in. So that should go ahead and set that up to point directly at that Route 53 domain name. The SSL certificate should be applied all the way through. So I expect that to work properly. I've got a funny feeling you can do that as an A record as well, and then you can directly alias it in. So if we go back to API Gateway, now we know that DNS should be pointing to this endpoint, but now we need an API mapping. So we're going to configure this custom domain name to map to an API, and we'll go and add a new mapping, and we have a look here and we see RPS Chalice. We look at the stages, and the stage is API. And so if we quickly just go back to API Gateway, if I reload this page, that should be redeployed back. That binary type should be gone now. Yep, so that's back to where it was. When we look at the stages, we can see that stage there is API. Yep, you might wonder where that came from, because typically you use like prod or stage or something like that. That comes from your Chalice. I think it's in here, config JSON. So here's the stages. So if we were to change that to something else, that would push that stage out differently. And the reason that this is important is you might have your application have multiple different stages. So one is like dev, one is production, pointing to different areas. But you want the custom domain name to point always to the production one, and the staging one to point to staging all of the time. And you might like move those stages around how you want to, or redeploy specific sets to different stages. So that's why it's important to know the difference between like where the stages are that you're pointing to. And interestingly, or maybe interestingly, maybe not interestingly, but informationally, you can put an additional path at the end here. So if you wanted RPS sls.devsintheshed.com /something, or you wanted it to point to a path that was a subpath. So if we wanted our rps.devsintheshed.com domain to point to a specific path that was like, let's just say /error, you could go ahead and do that as well. So it effectively does a little bit of rewriting there for you.
Yep.
So if we go save on that, that should set up the mappings between that. And now, in theory, that should be enabled. So as long as DNS is propagated, that should work. So let's give that a try. So rps.sls.devs in shed.
Does it have a dot, or is it just one word? RPS SLS. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So what has happened here? RPS SLS devsintheshed.com. So it's worked, but this connection is not secure. So what's happened here?
What's the certificate? Yeah.
This I'm trying to remember like whether I've done this all correctly, because this is saying the certificate being provided is for this. So has its certificate not attached itself correctly yet? So it's still an Amazon certificate, but maybe it hasn't attached itself all the way through. Let's just double check that I've done everything correct here. So that's the domain name. RPS. Hang on a second. That's RPS SLS.
We've got one less S.
That's RPS LS. So that could be the problem there. We'll fix it. We'll try and do that quickly in Route 53 to change that. So yeah, I made this as RPS SLS. And let's see. DNS may or may not propagate fast enough to be able to see that.
It might take a little bit.
It worked. It was fast. Yeah, it was really fast. So I did do everything correctly. However, I made a small typo in what we did there. But this demonstrates like it's very handy when you have all of the components within your AWS account, because you have the ability to create those CNAMEs and the records and DNS records and do a lot of the magic for you. All of that can be automated through CDK or CloudFormation. There's probably some helpers that enable you to do that within Chalice as well, and we can look at that in the future. But I think this shows how this is like really nice. And Matt, do you have like Safari or another browser open that we can share your window and you can play with it too, just to show that all of the fonts and icons are working correctly if you were to go?
Yeah. I'll put it into
I found some problems, Matt. Let's fix the code first.
No, actually, I was going to say the API route needs to be appended, right?
Yep. So we're going to have to fix that up. So
it's in the HTML files, I think, and I think it's an index.html is where you find that it redirects the route and the result page. So go into Chalice lib, and then templates.
Yeah.
And then it's these ones. So when it does the submit, so save that,
result.
And then go into results as well.
And this is just
And I don't think we do anything along the lines of. I think app.py is pretty straightforward, but we can double check.
Yeah, let's
that one we don't have a redirect. That's all right. Scroll down. That looks right. Yep. Yeah, I was pretty sure it's only the HTML files. So if we push that, we should be.
So I think that this is it's interesting, I guess, nice to see how, even though you might not necessarily do this in production, you can see how there are mechanisms to go ahead and start moving your applications, or even on a very small scale, move them across to like complete serverless infrastructure. And whether or not you do this all the time, like investigating what is available, is
fun.
It's always fun to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and see what's happening, whether this works now. So that works.
Aaron's just adding in his code around Lizard Spock in the background. I'm just giving him permission to GitHub. That's why you're getting the pings.
Okay, so this is all working properly as we expect. The error page worked properly as well. So that is all working. So this is working exactly as we expect. But if you were to put routes in there that don't exist, like result, you're going to get this missing authentication token. And I guess maybe just to answer the question of what people might want to do about that, to put a custom 404, I would say the answer to that, and I'm just winging it here, would be, I'm not sure whether you can put just a proxy at it as well, whether if you go create a stage, if we were to add onto here specific, how would you do this? How would I go ahead and do this? I would add extra resources to this that would be a proxy. So like I would proxy everything that we didn't explicitly call out. And I don't know if this is possible. This is how I think to address it. Proxy every single thing that we don't specifically call out as a defined route, and put that result as the /error result, which is your 404 page. So I imagine that's how you would go ahead and solve something like that. So I'm thinking that that's probably how you would go ahead and do that. I'm pretty sure that's what I would do if I was to set that up. I'm wondering how the precedence would work if I set that up. Maybe we'll try it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we could have a look. I just had a cat trying to jump the fence, so that's why I disappeared for a second.
Okay. Well, let's try it. Let's see how we go. I think this is. I still want to proxy it across to this. So we'll proxy across to that. So we should have a Lambda proxy to that. And if we deploy that, so this works the same. Oh, yeah, that's expected to work the same. What does this do? Okay, that still is kind of as I expected. This works the same.
Yep.
But I thought this might capture everything at the end of that. So maybe I haven't set the proxy up correctly. That. I think, no, I don't think we have. We haven't set the proxy up. It's not exactly set up. And I'm not sure how to do this with the console, actually. Like I would usually set this up with CloudFormation or with CDK or SAM or something like that. Anyway, maybe we can address that another time and think about how we would do that. But basically, I want to match anything that doesn't match here, and then I would want to send that to that Lambda function. I would probably make a Lambda function as like a catch-all route. I assume there's some sort of catch-all route or a default route within Chalice, and anytime you hit something that doesn't expect to go there, we could, you would serve up that back from the Lambda function itself.
I'm pretty sure there is something in Chalice that you can set just to default anything unknown to that error page. I'm pretty sure that would be pretty fast to add in, but we can look another time.
Yep. So, yeah, that's really what I want to do today. Did you say Aaron is pushing up that code now?
Yeah, that's right. And I've just given him permission. And by the way, I wanted to show what the app looked like in my browser on the Mac. So you can see I've got the rock loaded. I can choose the rock. So just so everyone can see what it looks like, we've got all the emojis rendering. I guess Apple and Microsoft have been pretty good with keeping up to the emoji standards. There's like literally everything in there now nowadays, right? But yeah, that's what it looks like in terms of the emoji side of the equation, fully rendered.
Yeah, so really that's all we wanted to cover off in this short impromptu stream today. We'll post the game URL into the chat so you can go ahead and play with that if you like and interested. The GitHub repo is on the Devs in the Shed repo as well if you want to go ahead and play with Chalice. And thanks everybody for tuning in and watching, and I think that's it for the day, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone. We might do something with .NET later on this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do something with that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll catch you all later. Thanks, everyone.